Imagine holding a piece of fast food in your hand, warm, fragrant, engineered to appeal to every sense at once. Before it even touches your lips, your body has already begun to respond. The brain, always alert, recognizes patterns of smell and sight that signal energy-dense food. Dopamine, a neurotransmitter often associated with reward and motivation, starts to rise not because you have eaten, but because you are about to. This anticipation is not accidental. It is deeply rooted in human evolution, where calorie-rich foods were rare and valuable. Yet today, this ancient wiring meets a modern environment filled with abundance, and the result is a biological conversation that unfolds with every bite. As the first bite enters your mouth, digestion begins instantly. Your teeth break the food into smaller pieces, but something more subtle is happening. Saliva, rich in enzymes like amylase, starts to break down carbohydrates into simpler sugars. The taste receptors on your tongue send signals to the brain, categorizing the flavors salty, sweet, fatty, each one activating its own neural pathway. Fast food is often designed to maximize this sensory stimulation, combining salt, sugar, and fat in a way that creates what scientists sometimes refer to as hyperpalatability. It is not just food. It is an experience crafted to override natural satiety signals. As you swallow, the food travels down the esophagus and enters the stomach, a muscular organ that begins to churn and mix its contents with gastric acid. Proteins start to unfold, fats begin their slow breakdown, and carbohydrates continue to be processed. But fast food behaves differently from whole, unprocessed meals. Its refined carbohydrates are rapidly digested, leading to a swift release of glucose into the bloodstream. This sudden influx does not go unnoticed. The pancreas, a quiet but essential organ, senses the rising blood sugar levels and responds by releasing insulin. Insulin acts like a key, allowing glucose to enter cells where it can be used for energy or stored for later use. In the context of occasional eating, this system works elegantly. But fast food often delivers more glucose than the body immediately needs. The excess is stored, primarily as fat, setting in motion a pattern that, over time, can reshape metabolism itself. Meanwhile, fats in the meal are being emulsified and absorbed in the small intestine. These fats, especially when consumed in large quantities and in processed forms, travel through the bloodstream as lipoproteins. Some are used for energy, some for building cell membranes, and some are stored. But the type of fat matters. Diets high in certain saturated and trans fats can influence cholesterol levels, subtly altering the balance between what is beneficial and what may accumulate in blood vessels over time. As nutrients enter the bloodstream, the brain continues to monitor the situation. Hormones like leptin and ghrelin play a delicate balancing act. Ghrelin signals hunger, urging you to eat, while leptin signals fullness, telling you to stop. Fast food, however, can disrupt this communication. Because it is often low in fiber and high in rapidly digestible calories, it does not stretch the stomach or trigger satiety signals as effectively as whole foods. You may consume a large number of calories before your brain fully registers that you have eaten enough. There is also the matter of timing. The rapid digestion of refined carbohydrates can lead to a spike in blood sugar, followed by a sharp decline. This fluctuation can leave you feeling tired, irritable, or even hungry again shortly after eating. It is not a failure of willpower, it is a predictable physiological response. The body is attempting to restore balance, but the nature of the food creates a cycle that is difficult to interrupt. Beyond these immediate effects, there is a quieter, more complex interaction taking place in the gut. The human digestive system is home to trillions of microorganisms, collectively known as the gut microbiota. These microbes are not passive residents. They actively participate in digestion, immune function, and even mood regulation. Diet plays a powerful role in shaping this microbial community. Diets rich in fiber tend to support a diverse and resilient microbiota, while frequent consumption of highly processed foods may reduce this diversity. Over time, this shift can influence inflammation, metabolism, and overall health in ways that are still being explored. As the meal continues its journey, the liver becomes a central player. It processes nutrients, detoxifies substances, and regulates energy storage. When faced with repeated surges of glucose and fats, the liver adapts. It may begin to convert excess sugar into fat, storing it within its own cells. This process, when persistent, can lead to changes that affect how the liver functions. Again, this is not immediate. It is gradual, almost imperceptible, unfolding over months and years rather than moments. At the same time, the cardiovascular system is responding. After a high-fat meal, there can be a temporary increase in triglycerides in the blood. Blood vessels may experience subtle changes in function, particularly in their ability to dilate and maintain smooth blood flow. These are not dramatic events, but they are part of a cumulative process. The body is remarkably adaptable, but it is also sensitive to patterns. Then there is the brain, not just as a regulator, but as a participant in the experience. Fast food can activate reward pathways in a way that encourages repeated behavior. The combination of flavors, textures, and rapid energy delivery creates a feedback loop. You eat, you feel pleasure, and your brain remembers. Over time, this can shape preferences, making simpler, less processed foods seem less appealing by comparison. It is not merely a matter of taste, it is a matter of neural conditioning. Yet within this complexity, there is also resilience. The human body is not fragile, it is dynamic and responsive. One meal does not define health, just as one moment does not define a lifetime. The processes described are part of a continuum, influenced by frequency, quantity, and context. A single fast food meal is a transient event, a brief deviation in a system designed to maintain equilibrium. It is repetition that transforms these moments into patterns, and patterns into outcomes. Consider the role of inflammation, a fundamental biological response. After consuming highly processed foods, there may be a mild, temporary increase in inflammatory markers. This is part of the body's way of managing what it perceives as a challenge. In small doses, this response is not harmful. But when it becomes chronic, when the body is repeatedly exposed to stimuli that provoke inflammation, it can contribute to a range of conditions that develop quietly over time. Even the act of chewing, often overlooked, plays a role. Eating quickly, as is common with fast food, can bypass important signals that regulate appetite. The brain requires time to process sensory input and hormonal signals. When meals are consumed rapidly, this feedback loop is shortened, and the opportunity for natural regulation is diminished. Slowing down is not merely a behavioral choice. It is a way of aligning with the body's intrinsic rhythms. Water, too, enters the picture. Many fast food meals are accompanied by sugary beverages, which add another layer of complexity. Liquid calories are absorbed even more rapidly than solid food, contributing to spikes in blood sugar without providing the same sense of fullness. The body registers the energy, but the mind may not register the satisfaction, leading to a subtle imbalance between intake and perception. As minutes turn into hours, the immediate effects begin to subside. Blood sugar levels stabilize, nutrients are distributed, and the digestive system completes its work. What remains is not the meal itself, but the imprint it leaves on the body's systems. Each meal is a signal, a piece of information that the body uses to adjust its internal environment. Over time, these signals accumulate, guiding the body toward certain patterns of function. There is something almost philosophical in this process. The body does not judge, it responds. It does not categorize food as good or bad. It interprets it through the language of chemistry and physiology. Every bite is translated into molecular interactions, hormonal shifts, and neural signals. In this sense, eating is not just a physical act, but a form of communication between the external world and the internal self. Fast food, in its essence, is a product of human ingenuity. It reflects our desire for convenience, efficiency, and sensory pleasure. But it also challenges our biology, asking systems evolved for scarcity to navigate abundance. The tension between these forces is not inherently negative. It is simply a reality of modern life. Understanding this tension allows for a more nuanced perspective, one that moves beyond simplistic narratives. When you take a bite, you are engaging with a network of processes that extend far beyond the moment. The crunch, the flavor, the satisfaction, these are immediate and tangible. But beneath them lies a cascade of events that ripple through the body, touching systems that operate quietly, persistently, and often invisibly. To become aware of this is not to reject the experience, but to see it more clearly. There is a kind of humility in recognizing how much is happening within us at any given time. The body is not a passive recipient of food, it is an active participant, constantly adapting, regulating, and striving for balance. Fast food, like any other input, becomes part of this ongoing dialogue. It is neither entirely harmful nor entirely benign. Its impact is shaped by context, frequency, and the broader patterns of life. And so, with every bite, there is a story unfolding, not just of taste and satisfaction, but of cells responding, hormones signaling, and systems adjusting. It is a story written in the language of biology, yet experienced in the language of sensation. To pay attention to this story is to deepen our understanding of ourselves, to see the body not as a machine, but as a living, responsive system that reflects the choices we make, moment by moment. In that awareness, something subtle shifts. Eating becomes less automatic, more intentional. The focus moves from restriction to understanding, from judgment to observation. And within that space, the relationship between fast food and the body reveals itself not as a conflict, but as a conversation ongoing, intricate, and profoundly human.